हाँ जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम everybody. चलें जी, बाकी भी आ रहे हैं. Yes, once again for those of you who just joined. Okay. चलें जी, so inshallah today we are going to end our topic and we are going to practice past papers that basically have to do with our topic. Okay. Okay. So we were left with, so quickly let me skim through all what we went through yesterday. हमने अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह शुरू किया था. We started off with discussing the idea of enzymes, including the definition of catalyst and all of that stuff. फिर मैंने आपको बताया था, we went to look at some characteristics, specifically talking about the active site and talking about the specificity in nature. And then we went on to discuss this important idea of lock and key hypothesis, which is a very important thing from exam perspective. And then we discussed this idea, again very important. Exam में ज़्यादातर आपको यही वाली चीज़ मिलती है, effect of temperature. आज इंशाल्लाह हम will also look at a question that deals with the following: effect of temperature on the activity of enzyme, inshallah. Okay, so quickly हमने देखा था, we divided the graph. So basically in a bird's eye view, when temperature increases, the reaction rate of reaction becomes faster. And then we went on to look at the reasoning why that was the case. ये जो मैंने highlight किया हुआ है, increase in temperature was the cause of increase in kinetic energy, which was a cause for more effective collisions, therefore more enzyme substrate complexes being formed, and then eventually increased rate of reaction. Okay? And then we looked at the idea of the maximum rate of reaction reaching at a point of a temperature which is known as the optimum. यानी कि यहाँ पे the rate of reaction is the maximum. That's the temperature where the enzyme will work at its best. And then once we go slightly beyond the optimum, that's where the denaturation of the enzyme starts. और हमने डिटेल में देखा था कि denaturation basically means it's the change in the shape of the active site, which means that it is no longer complementary. So for me to say change, shape changed, I need to support that with the following statement, which means that the substrate is no longer complementary. Okay. And then finally, we said that at E marks the point where it gets completely denatured, complete denaturation, which means that now no more substrate is able to fit into the enzyme. And then I ended up with this thing कि आपने ये नहीं लिखना कि enzyme is killed. No, it's denatured. Okay, so that's the correct word. So inshallah, today we will proceed to the last of this idea, which is effect of pH on the enzyme activity. और जो effect of pH है, that actually is not very different from temperature. But again, let me show you the diagram first and then inshallah I will explain. Okay, so effect of pH. Okay, so okay, challenge. So this is the graph that shows what happens at different pH. Now, for the enzyme that we're looking here, for this specific enzyme, we can clearly see that the optimum pH is 8. How do I know that? Because that's the point which marks the maximum activity, as you can see in the graph. Okay. और इस पे भी क्या होगा? Either going to the right side of the pH, which means more than 8, or going to the left-hand side, the rate of reaction, as you can see, will be decreasing. Now, why does this decrease? Again, There are two perspectives, bachon, that I want you to understand. The first one is a slight change from optimum. Okay? From optimum. और दूसरा बच्चों है extreme change from the optimum. Okay? Now, there is a difference between both of them. Slight, if the pH changes slightly, well, then guess what? You know, the activity will become less. लेकिन अगर आप वापस 8 pH पे चले जाएंगे, तो the activity will resume. But at extreme pH values, as you can see, it's written, which is furthest away from the optimum. For example, हम 4 की बात कर रहे हैं या 3 की बात कर रहे हैं या फिर we're talking about 12 or 13, which is of course way beyond 8. Then this shows that this will cause complete distortion again of the active sites. And of course, this time, excuse me, it is due to different reasons, not the only reason of temperature, but again, extreme variation में याद रखें that this change is irreversible, लेकिन slight changes में it can go back to its working conditions. Okay, again, so the idea is basically the same. इसको इंशाल्लाह डिटेल में इसके पॉइंट्स अभी हम जब पास्ट पेपर्स करते हैं तो उसकी हम एग्जाम उसके मार्किंग स्कीम्स में हम डिटेल में देखते हैं इंशाल्लाह. Okay, so alhamdulillah, guess what, this marks an end to the topic of enzymes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste some past papers that I have compiled for you. Okay, if you can just give me a second. Exam style questions, enzymes. Okay, wait. एक तो हमने ये वाली वर्कशीट करनी है, इसको भी मैं आपको बताता हूँ, but then I have this one ready for you. Let me convert this into a PDF. Okay, so this has MCQs and this has, okay. Okay, so let's look at this one first. Then I think I have one more. That is, yes, MCQ. Okay, so there are 3 things that I have on my mind today. So inshallah, let's look at them one by one. So we have the following. Chale ji bachcho, inshallah, let's begin with this. So I have few MCQs, only 3 of them, and then I have a theory question that is worth 10 marks. Okay. All right. Okay, so the first question goes something like the following. What are enzymes? Okay, let's go through all of the options and see. Fats that are, oh, are enzyme fats? No, 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 they're not fats. What are enzymes, bachcho? Chemical nature kya hai unka? Proteins. So again, I can clearly cut out the first 2 options because they're both mentioning fats. So A is out, B is out. I don't even want to bother reading them. Well, actually you should. Fats that are secreted by glands and digestive system, like in fats problematic hai, so again, I can't go with option A. Option B, fats that have characteristic molecular shape. Well, they do have characteristic molecular shape, but they're not fats. So B is also gone. Option C, proteins that act as biological catalyst. This seems like a plausible option. Let's also look at option D, proteins that are unaffected by temperature. No, they're actually affected by temperature. There are proteins, this part is correct, but that is incorrect. Okay. अभी हमने देखा है पीछे कि ज़्यादा temperature से they get denatured, their active site changes, and the substrate is no longer able to fit. So again, the correct option is option C. All right. MCQ number 2. Enzyme action can be explained by the lock and key hypotheses. Okay. Where is the active site? Where is the active site, and does the substrate act as a lock or as the key? Okay. So let's make sense of this question once again. Let's read this question again. Where is the active site? Okay, that's first part of the question. And does the substrate act as lock or key? तो अगर आपको याद होगा मैंने आपको बताया था enzyme, is it the lock or the key? क्या ख्याल है बच्चों?
Lock.
A lock.
Lock, sir.
How, I mean, there is a chance that you can forget this. So let me tell you a way that will make it easier for you to remember. How do you spell lens? Lens, right? That's what you studied in physics. But I want you to remember the wrong spellings of lens. That will actually help you to remember what I want you to remember. So lens, which means the following: lock is the enzyme. You understand? So just by remembering the word lens, you would immediately remember, oh, enzyme is the lock. Okay, and of course substrate is the key. तो यहाँ पे वो जो पूछ रहा है, if you look at the second part of the question, it says, and does substrate act as the lock? No, actually it acts as a key. We know this. And where is the active site? बच्चों, it's on the enzyme. So let's now look at the options one by one. Option A देखें, active site on enzyme. Yes, it is on the enzyme. So can I rule out option C and D? अच्छा आप बच्चों एक चीज I want you to just look at what I do when I do the MCQs with you. I focus on eliminating the wrong options first. I don't know that when you do MCQs, you do this or not, but trust me, this really helps. If you are looking at the MCQ and if right away you find there's an option that looks incorrect, just cross it out so that it's easier for you to look for the right answer. Okay? Does anybody do this when they're doing MCQs, or do you look for the right options? I think all of you look for the right options. So inshallah, as we proceed with the topics, you will get used to this idea of eliminating the options. Anyhow, coming back to the question, where is the okay, तो active site enzyme पे है, ठीक है, तो ये तो चले problem solve हो गई, ये भी ठीक है और ये भी ठीक है. Active site on the substrate. Well, no, it's not on the substrate. Yes, so the cross is actually correct. Okay, so again, ये भी ठीक है, ये भी ठीक है. Substrate acts as a lock. Does substrate act as a lock? No, that's the enzyme. So substrate acts as a lock? No. So that is correct. And substrate acts as a key? Yes, it does. That is correct. So what's the correct option? B is the correct option. Okay. Everybody understands this?
Yep.
Okay, great. चलें जी, आगे चलते हैं बच्चों. Question number 3. Which graph correctly shows the effect of pH on the rate of reaction? Okay, so what is being tested against what? pH against the rate of reaction. Okay, so you have pH on the x-axis and you have rate of reaction on the y-axis. So वो आपको कह रहा है which graph shows the effect of pH? Well, let's look at all of the graphs one by one. The graph, what is graph A showing? Graph A is showing as we increase the pH value on x-axis, that actually decreases the rate of reaction. Well, that's never the case. I mean, देखें, यहाँ पे this is the point that maybe reconciles with the least value of rate of reaction. हम कह सकते हैं उल्टा graph है, looks like the same. I mean, the reason why this is incorrect is because you can't have two values of pH at which the rate of reaction is maximum. You understand what I'm saying? So again, this is incorrect. Okay, let's look at C option. As you keep on increasing the pH, the rate of reaction keeps on increasing. It will never slow down. Well, it will, because there will be a pH at which it will work at its best. And then when you go beyond that value, it is supposed to, the rate of reaction is supposed to decrease. So again, that is incorrect. D option ko dekhein. As you increase the pH, okay, it does increase and then it becomes static. Well, अगर ये वाला point जो है, if this point is the optimum pH, then if we go beyond the optimum pH, the graph should go something like the following. It should go down, but it's not going down, it's going straight. So again, that is incorrect. But if you look at graph B, that looks like a very good pH graph because you can clearly see that this is the pH value, which is the optimum. Why is this the optimum? Because the rate of reaction is maximum. And then once you go beyond the optimum, either on the left or the right, the rate of reaction decreases. And this is exactly what we saw how the graph should look like. So the correct answer is option. Bacho, is everybody clear on this? I really want you to tell me either as a yes or a no if you understand this, because understanding graphical questions can become very challenging for students at times. So it's okay if you don't understand. Anybody in the class who feels they don't understand how this graph is working, please tell me. Yeah, is everybody okay with this?
Yes.
Okay, one yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
चलिए अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, that is good, शाबाश। आप लोग हैं ही बड़े अच्छे असल में, इसलिए आपको समझ में आती है। मक्खन नहीं लगा रहा, यकीन करें, तारीफ कर रहा हूँ। कभी कभी तारीफ सच्ची भी हो सकती है, well, हर दफा सच्ची होनी चाहिए, सच्ची बोलना चाहिए। चले, anyhow, okay, so this is again from one of the recent papers. This is October November 2018. So this is a recent paper. Describe and explain how each of the following affects enzyme activity. pH and temperature, 7 marks. ठीक है, तो क्या ख्याल है, हमें क्या लिखना चाहिए, क्या नहीं लिखना चाहिए, क्या करना चाहिए, क्या नहीं करना चाहिए? I mean, let's look at the mark schemes. Okay, इसकी mark scheme मैंने लगाई नहीं हुई साथ। चलिए मुझे जरा 1 मिनट दें, इसकी मार्क स्कीम यहीं पे O levels past papers. My students, they usually journey through my laptop and different folders when I go through all of them. Okay, so this is 2018 October November. Variant कौन सा है जी? 2-1. Okay. And the question, if I'm not wrong, is question number 8. Okay, quickly. Okay, so let me quickly cut it out and paste it over there. Save as. Okay, great. So there you go. Okay. ये देखें जी, सबसे पहले बच्चों वो बात कर रहा है पीएच की. Again, so these are the points that you will have to understand from here. मैंने आपको वहां पे नहीं लिखे थे. So best or optimum or fastest, ठीक है? You know that the optimum pH is the one that has the rate is the fastest, and then the rate is slower at both sides of the optimum. इसका क्या मतलब है बच्चों? Rates is slow at both sides of the optimum. Let's go back to the diagram that we were seeing in the MCQs. So इस ग्राफ की लाइन को अगर मैं रीड्रॉ करूं, and let's say that's the optimum pH, then at both extremes on the left and the right side of the value of the optimum, the enzyme activity, it slows down. So that's what he's saying in point number 2. Rate slower both sides of the optimum. ठीक है? This can be both for temperature and for pH. और फिर आप बात करेंगे active site की, which changes shape, and then substrate no longer fits, and the shape of the curve described, which is basically the graphical shape, and then denaturation. Okay, is point number 7. Plus pH, okay, not optimum at high temperature. यानी कि denaturation कब होगी? Number 1, when the temperature is very high, and number 2, when pH is not optimum. On both of in these situations, denaturation is bound to happen. Okay, so this is how you would answer the question for describe and explain how each of the following affects the enzyme activity. Okay. I just also want to go through the comments of the examiner, and those comments again will give us a very good insight of how the candidates all over the world they performed and they talked about this. Okay, so 2-1, this is question number. Yep, that's question number. So let me also take a snapshot. Take in your class notes you have this with you, inshallah. Okay. आप में से how many of you ever went through these examiner reports before? Have you been going through these exam? Okay, great. I'm glad that you have, and I'm sure it's a good practice that you do. And by the way, do this for all of the other sciences also. It will really help, inshallah. देखें जी, A part पे examiner कह रहा है, the section relating to the effect of pH on enzyme activity did not usually score as well as that on temperature. A common omission was failing to realize that the rate of activity increases up to the optimum, then decreases beyond it. Many suggested that if the pH or temperature was not at the optimum, then the enzyme would not operate at all. I will highlight this point and I want to talk about this. Many suggested that the pH was okay. देखिए, मैंने आपको ये बताया था कि if you look at the graph, let me go back to yesterday's graph. This is very important. We need to understand this. देखिए, if you look at the graph of the temperature, point C बच्चों, what is point C? That point is the optimum temperature. अब पॉइंट सी के थोड़ा सा अगर आप राइट पे जाएं और थोड़ा सा लेफ्ट पे जाएं, does that mean that the rate of reaction totally stops? Tell me, do you think it totally stops if we go slightly here and then slightly here? What do you think? It does not totally stop. It takes time to stop. And if you look at the same for pH, again, as you can see, agar wo thoda sa ja raha hai beyond the optimum, then the rate is decreasing, but it does not immediately stop. I mean, if 8 is the optimum, it does not just stop the rate of reaction at 9. I mean, look, the rate of reaction is still high at 9, but it's relatively slower in comparison to the maximum. So examiner यहाँ पे यही कहना चाह रहा है कि अक्सर बच्चों ने क्या किया था, many suggested that if the pH or the temperature was not at the optimum, then the enzyme would not operate at all. Okay, so that's incorrect. Acha ji, I'm reading further. The effect of temperature usually allowed candidates to present their generally sound knowledge on the active site and on the importance of increased kinetic energy. Remember we talked about वो जो मैंने कल देखो सारा portion highlight किया था, this portion very important. The B point. Increase in temperature means increase in kinetic energy, which means increase in effective collisions, which means more enzyme substrate complexes, and which means more increased rate of reaction. Okay. All right. Several, however, appear to believe that the active site is located on the substrate molecule. Of course, आप अच्छे बच्चे हैं, आप इस तरह की बोंगी नहीं मारेंगे. Yep. Okay. So the B part.
यार हम स्लो डाउन के अलावा क्या लिखेंगे?
The स्लो डाउन के अलावा क्या लिखेंगे? मैं समझा नहीं आपकी बात. I'm sorry, I didn't get your question.
सर उन्होंने कहा ना कि हमने स्लो नहीं लिखना.
हाँ, उन्होंने कहा खाली वर्ड स्लो नहीं, उन्होंने खाली वर्ड स्लो नहीं लिखना. क्या चीज स्लो है? The rate of reaction decreases or slows down. You have to mention the full word. I mean, just saying that the enzyme slows down is, I mean, you understand that just the word slowing down does not make full scientific sense. What slows down? The rate of reaction slow. Enzyme खुद तो slow नहीं हो रहा ना, rate of reactions decrease कर रहा है, slow हो रहा है. So it's not the word that is problematic. You have to write down the rate of reaction slows down, not the enzyme. You understand?
जी सर.
Okay, alhamdulillah. चलें जी. B part भी देखते हैं. Name one enzyme that acts in the named part of the alimentary canal and describe the role of this enzyme in digestion. I will generally answer this question for you guys. और फिर मैं इस पे आता हूँ. देखिए, मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया था कि there are for carbohydrates You know that the end product of digestion of carb. By the way, ये जो मैं यहाँ पे लिख रहा हूँ इन lines पे, ये इस question का answer नहीं है. I'm generally setting the context. I will answer this question also. Carbohydrates, you know, their end product is glucose. ठीक है. या फिर अगर इसको आप इस तरह break कर लें जो आपके syllabus में है, starch is first converted into maltose, and then maltose is converted into glucose. So that's for carbohydrate. और फिर इसी तरह जो fats हैं बच्चों, they are converted into, come on, can anybody tell me?
fatty acids.
Only? No, fatty acids and glycerol. ठीक है. और जो proteins हैं बच्चों, वो किस चीज में convert होते हैं? At the end, they are converted into amino acids. Now, these are inshallah the reactions that we will be talking about in animal nutrition. लेकिन मैं आपको ये अभी क्यों बता रहा हूँ? Because you need to know the names of the enzymes that are involved in this. So generally, जो name है carbohydrates का, के enzymes का, वो है amylases. लेकिन starch to maltose is amylase, और जो maltose to glucose है उसके लिए maltase use होता है. As you all know that the name of the enzyme will always end as ASE. Fats are changed into fatty acid and glycerol by lipase, and proteins are changed into amino acids by proteases. ठीक है. I mean, amylases, lipases, and proteases, these are general names that are expected from you. अब आप question पे दोबारा देखें, वो पूछ रहा है name one enzyme that acts in a named part of the alimentary canal. तो mouth में ये वाली digestion होती है, starch into maltose by salivary amylase. Of course, the reason I'm not doing this at the moment is because we haven't done animal nutrition. लेकिन आप जल्दी से इसकी की भी देख लें. So any named enzyme from alimentary canal, correct location, and name of the substrate and the product. So inshallah, this should make more sense in inshallah that topic to come. चलें जी, so हम यहाँ पे अपनी traditional 1 minute break लेते हैं. So please go get up, take a walk, come back. Make sure that you don't take more than a minute. I will end the meeting. हम resume करते हैं और फिर now I'm going to go to some more MCQs inshallah, क्योंकि इसके theory questions बहुत simple होते हैं. इसके अलावा lock-in की hypothesis ही है. But again, there are some MCQs that I've collected from very recent papers. May June 2020 में से भी 19 October November May June. So inshallah we will look at those MCQs in detail. And that's basically what I plan to do for the rest of the lesson today. So I'm ending the meeting. Please rejoin in a minute.